You're listening to Rule the Galaxy podcast. I'm Vanessa Marshall, Harrison Dulon, Star Wars Rebels. May the Force be with you always.
Join me. Together we can rule the galaxy far from sun.
Hey, Star Wars fans and Rule the Galaxy friends, welcome back to another episode, a fireside chat, as I like to say, where I take some time with one of our favorite guests or one of our friends in the community and just really talk about Star Wars in general. This gentleman has not jumped into Maul yet, so if you were wanting to hear some Maul news, we might not really go that deep into that. But outside of that, we've got tons of Star Wars to talk about. And this guy knows a lot about Star Wars. He has written a number of books related to Star Wars. So we always like to have him on for his comments and his insight. And hey, it's the one and only Adam Bray. How you doing, Adam?
Hey, I'm doing good. Great to be here again.
No, we love having you on. And, I still get people telling me, man, I wish that Adam Bray, Scott Rifen episode that you guys did that was so good was available, but it's not because Scott, not you, but because Scott, his audio and video were all messed up. So, yeah, but this time it's just you and me. So hopefully you're not in the snow in Michigan. Hopefully it's warmed up and you're ready to talk some Star Wars.
Yeah, well, we had a blizzard and then we had a rainstorm and then my basement flooded and it's been flooded for like 3 weeks now and I have to pump it out every single day. And I just had a litter of pug puppies born last night, 6 puppies. So it's all, and I've got two goats that are going to have babies any minute now. So it's all keeping me busy, not necessarily productive, but busy.
Well, and you at one point in time lived, was it with gorillas or you studied or something, gorillas or orangutans? I forget now. We've talked about so many things. I know you're pretty comfortable in the natural world.
Yeah, I worked with regular chimpanzees, about 80 of them in a lab out in Arizona. And then I worked with bonobos in another lab in a language research out in Atlanta. And then I visited the mountain gorillas out in Rwanda. And I've worked with orangutans too. So kind of ticked all the boxes.
So does having all that, the pugs, the goats, and all those primate animals, does having some relationship and connectivity to them bring you to getting connected to a Grogu, a Hutt, a Rodian, a Hammerhead, anything like that? Or is there any connectivity there?
It does. For me, when I was a kid, Star Wars was, when I was very little, Star Wars was all about the aliens and the monsters and the droids. And Han, Luke, and Leia were just the filler in between, the boring stuff, that you could fast forward. And it was actually because of my animal experience. It was one of the reasons that they hired me. DK and then John Rinsler at Lucasfilm approved me because I started off with a book about the creatures of Star Wars. And so in all the like encyclopedias and stuff, I would request all the wildlife and aliens and things.
Nice. Okay. Well, what is perking your interest right now in the Star Wars universe? Obviously, today, while we're talking, it's May the 4th. So there's a lot of people all geeked up about May the 4th and Star Wars. I'm the old guy like Ryfin and Glosson. I still like May 25th, but I see the commercialization of May the 4th. I get it. But May the 4th going on. As we said, Maul's going on. Mando and Grogu are coming up. And there's all kinds of news out there, Star Wars. What's flicking your bick, as I like to say, or perking your interest in the Star Wars universe right now?
Yeah, as you mentioned, I haven't started on Mall yet. My Disney Plus subscription expired last summer while I was in the middle of that Alien series, and the first couple episodes of that series, as much as I love the Alien franchise, and I don't know, maybe I'm in the minority. I love the Ridley Scott Prometheus and Covenant, especially the Fassbender who plays David.
Mm-hmm.
He's the highlight of those two movies. He's more scary and exciting than the Alien is. So, um, but so yeah, my subscription expired, and I kind of felt like, I don't think I care. So I haven't renewed it yet, but I was thinking about maybe when they load the Ahsoka series and it's
Mm-hmm.
all on there, then I'll subscribe and binge everything. But I don't know. People say Maul's really good, so I'm starting to get tempted now. So we'll see. Maybe this week I'll get back on there.
I'm going to be a witness for you on that. I have really enjoyed Maul. I just finished it, all 10 episodes. I thought the music was great. The visuals are great. The character depth and growth is really good. There are times when it makes you feel sad for Darth Maul, if that's
Hmm.
possible. Make him a reluctant hero, and you just
Hmm.
see some directions they're going. And like we discussed before we got on air, there are definitely some big things in the wind by the time you get to the end of this. So I
Hmm.
think you'll like that. But yeah, I don't know if there's going to be a new Tales of coming out. Those are usually pretty entertaining. Um, and then Ahsoka, what, this fall or something like that? Is that right?
Yeah, I don't know. A day or two ago, I saw this alleged screenshot of the announcements that were supposed to
Yeah.
be today. One of them was a date for Ahsoka. Can we say what the other ones are? I don't know if they've it's been posted or not.
I
Have
don't
you seen that?
I saw that screenshot, and it some of it seemed right on top of some things, and others seemed vague. Um, but I think they
Yeah,
were talking. If I'm not mistaken, I think they mentioned, like a Starfighter trailer should be out sometime soon. And then they talked about Luke being in the next Tales of series that was coming
yeah,
out,
that's
and
right.
and and let's face it, that to me is a home run. It's a winner. Anytime you can get Luke
Yeah.
Skywalker involved.
Hmm. There's
So
been rumor there's been rumors of like a Tales of Luke Skywalker. I've heard it. This is maybe the third time I've heard it or seen it. Um, I don't. I don't know if I've heard anything that's come from like a reliable source. Um,
okay,
yeah, I'm trying to think, but yeah, and the other one was a trailer of the next Jedi Knight or Jedi Fallen Order. I
that's
think they
right.
called it Jedi Fallen Knight or something. And that would be cool. Those are fun games. I've only played the first few minutes of the second game, but it was cool. I just the older I get, the harder it is for me to sit down on those adventure games. Unless, like, it's fun to play those when you're sick, like, you've got something going on and you just have to stay in bed and can't do anything, like you've got diarrhea for a week. Then those games
uh,
are they're like your best friend. So yes, so yeah, I'm waiting for something like that.
well, I know I'm just gonna start picking your brain here because I know that
Yeah.
you've worked with and been involved with or crossed paths with Dave Filoni,
Yes.
related to Rebels and the books you wrote on that. Um, where where do you see him leading things now that he's calling the creative shots with the overall Star Wars franchise? Do you feel like that's a positive, and do you feel like he's going to take those kind of learn from George's, you know, George's side kind of thing, and lead the franchise that way?
I think the fact that he's George's apprentice, I'll say apprentice and not
Hmm.
acolyte, because acolyte's got negative connotations in Star Wars. But George's apprentice, that's always a positive. There's nobody closer to George Lucas than in uh, creative ways than Dave Filoni, really. Unless you get some of those, old effects guys that were in the workshop and stuff, or
Right.
maybe a Ben Bird or somebody. But so that's a positive. When I my interactions with him were brief. I've talked to him on the phone for maybe like an hour and a half, and I've run into him and met him in person a few times at conventions, and we were photographed together for something. And I actually had dinner and I sat between him and his wife. That was really cool. And that wasn't planned. That was just spontaneous. So that was pretty cool. Him and his wife and a whole bunch of Lucasfilm and Weta people. We were all just hanging out. So that's kind of a life's highlight. Cause not even, wasn't planned or scheduled or anything. Um, Especially now that he is who he is. And he's always been very nice. He's always been very generous. And if you watch him with other fans, he's very generous. He used to make the rounds of the podcast, as you know. He used to be a regular guest on Rebel
Rebel
Force
Force.
Radio. So yeah, so super kudos and thanks to him for that. Unfortunately, Disney kind of put a stop to that for whatever reason, as they did with a lot of people. The Whitwer and different ones used to
Hmm.
they Freddie, what's his name, they'd all
Pretty
go
Prince.
on
Yeah.
anybody's podcast, big or small, and Disney seems to kind of have stopped that with them and others. But anyway, I digress. All that said, he's a great guy. Loves Star Wars. I've also heard things to indicate, in some ways, don't expect a lot in different in many areas from what we had with Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger. I've heard things to suggest that status quo would continue. However, and that I was been concerned, because when I was suggested things by people who would know almost even better than I, it sounded plausible. On the other hand, we see this evidence of now we have Han, Luke, and Leia, whether you love them or hate them, at Galaxy's Edge. Um, so there's this shift to original trilogy there at the Disney parks, which I've never been to because I can't afford. And unlike all my colleagues at the time when it opened, I didn't get an invitation, even though I had to write about it for the encyclopedias. I actually wrote the entries for Batu without ever being there. Um,
Wow.
so I'm still a little butt sore for that. But so we've got that, and we've got the John Williams music at the park, and rumors of more, rumors of a gradual reset of that all to push it more towards the original trilogy. So that evidence is good. If there is a Tales of Luke Skywalker animated thing, shorts coming, that's another evidence of good things. So the more of that, the better. And then there's this article. I had seen a headline just before we got on, and you mentioned reading an article about
Yep.
about that they might get rid of the sequels and go back to the original trilogy. So that's something to talk about. But also, maybe the most encouraging thing of all of this is the Gina Carano, Cara Dune. The fact that they had a call.
Yes.
Because I'll be honest, I'd gotten some indication from things I'd seen. I didn't know if Dave was a supporter of Gina Carano. I felt like Jon Favreau was, but I didn't know about Dave. But for them both to call her, that is huge. And
Yeah.
her haters can try to downplay that all they want, but they're full of garbage. That is a very big deal because in Hollywood you do not make those calls unless
Mm.
there is plans to do something about it. So I guarantee there are plans to put her back in Star Wars. There's no other reason for that call. So that's probably the biggest indication that maybe we're headed for some really good things. Maybe getting this train back on the tracks with Filoni and with Favreau.
Well, and I'm I'll be the first one to say that when, for example, Legends was made Legends and we said we're going in a new direction, I was very upset. And then I sat back and thought, hey, if I was in their position, I get where they're making these decisions from. Maybe I would have
Right.
handled it a little differently. But over the
Mm-hmm.
past 10 years, I still read the Legends books as much as I read, if not more, than I read the new Disney books. So I think if they
Mm-hmm.
approach it the right way, which I'm hearing they're making an alternate universe for Star Wars, an alternate universe for Marvel, and taking the ones that didn't hit and saying that's still out there. It's just an alternate view, an alternate universe of that, which is what we were told years
Mm-hmm.
ago, right? The legends are still out there. It's like
Mm-hmm.
telling stories around a campfire, right? And Whitwer has been out recently
Yeah.
saying that same line, which makes me think, okay, they used that line 10 years ago. Here they are 10 years later, they're
Mm-hmm.
using that line again. I don't want the people
Mm-hmm.
who love the sequels to have that ripped away from them like I had
No.
that the original stuff ripped away from me. I want to say, hey, it's still out there. Go enjoy it. I've learned over time to enjoy what I felt was being taken away from me, but it just stayed there. It just stayed as part of my Star Wars lore. So hopefully they don't just
Right.
shelve it and hey, nobody can
Yeah.
see it, nobody can do whatever.
Mhm. Is Whitwer saying that lately that the sequel era is an alternate universe?
No, Whitwer was saying that whole telling stories around a campfire thing, and like he was saying, who knows what Ahsoka's lightsaber color was in the Siege of Mandalore, right? If you're told this story one time, she's got blue lightsabers. If
Mm-hmm.
you're told another story, she's got white or she's got green, and it really
Mm-hmm.
comes down to that lore that gets handed down to people. And so he was bringing it up about
Right.
that,
Right.
but that's kind of similar to what they were doing when they made the switch
Mm-hmm.
way back when and made things
Yeah.
legends.
Right. Yeah. I think that's the way to go. They were too harsh with the jump. Like you, I understood when it happened. Of course, they couldn't use the EU to make movies. They need the freedom to make their own movies. If George was still there, he was never going to use the EU either.
Mm-mm.
He was going to make his own movies, and if he hadn't sold the company, he would have by now we would have had at least another trilogy from George that would have overwritten everything that EU people loved. So I mean, either way, it wasn't going to it wasn't going to exist in a cinematic universe.
Right.
So I like, you know, I've just started listening to the Thrawn trilogy on Audible. I bought it
Mhm.
like a few years ago when it was on sale, but I'm only just now listening to it because I just got in the nostalgic mood. But I was never a big EU reader. In fact, I read the first two novels in the Thrawn trilogy when they first came to bookstores, and by the end of the second book, I just felt like I'm bored. This doesn't interest me. It doesn't feel like Star Wars, and I stopped. And so I never, as far as I remember, I never read that third book. So I'm hoping to actually finish it this time. But it's fun. Well, in some ways, even listening to it, I still feel the same way about it that I did back then. But because of I'm on a nostalgia trip, so I want to keep going. But one thing that's fun about it is I noticed this edition they're playing the John Williams music also from the prequels in
Hmm.
this audio book, and I think that's really cool that they've made use of the whole thing. I don't think I'm not expecting, Rogue One and Solo and Clone Wars music and all of that, but to have, the two trilogies soundtrack intermixed, that's pretty cool. So, but I love about I guess it was about 15 years ago I started getting into, just as it was ending, the Dark Horse EU
Yeah.
comics.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what to read. I was just picking stuff at random that looked cool. And there was some really fun stuff. Just random stories, that not even important in the bigger scheme of things. There was one I was reading about the Amanaman guys on their home planet, and their tribes and stuff, and how vicious the natives were, and the Imperials were coming through, like trying to colonize or something, and they were just killing all the Imperials, and it was just fun.
Yeah.
And there's a set of action figures that goes with that comic, and I've always wanted to have them. They're a little expensive now
Mm.
because one of them's got an Amanan alien. It's the only other one of that species besides the one in Return of the Jedi that they made an action figure for. But yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff. But now when it comes to the Marvel era or the Disney era Marvel comics, the new stuff, the first 2 years I bought all the comics, and I, and I'm sorry if people listeners feel different and I'm offending them, but I read every single one from the first 2 years. And then I realized, I'm bored. There were a few comics. There was a few I liked, like the Han Solo where he's racing. That was really beautiful art, and it was a fun story. And I actually heard George Lucas read it and he liked it so much he bought all the original art. Um, and I
Nice.
liked the
Yeah.
Kanan Jarrus when he did that very short, unfortunately very short series. Loved his alien guy that he teamed
Yes.
up with too. I don't know why they haven't shown up because that's a really cool alien design. Um, but so there were a few good things, but for the most part, it felt like a chore to read
Yeah.
the Marvel comic. And I just stopped. I canceled all my subscriptions, and I just stopped and I gave up. Um, and I'm not tempted to read anything that's come since, but the EU stuff I am. I'd like to go back and, what I was doing before and pick and choose.
Yeah. I'm definitely I am a big fan of the Thrawn Zahn trilogy that came out. It's always been one of my favorite, and that's okay. Everything hits people a different way. But one that I need to refresh myself with, I haven't read in a long time, is the Kevin J. Anderson Jedi Academy trilogy. I've been seeing a lot of people
Right.
posting about that, and I remember it.
Yeah.
But I need to go back and refresh that because it was a fun time in Star Wars where a lot of things were happening, and so I'm going to go check that one out. But I haven't been as drawn to the new books that Disney has been involved with. The one that I liked Lost Stars by Claudia Gray a lot. I liked Dark Disciple, the one that I think
Mhm.
George Lucas's daughter wrote the story of that. and it was supposed to be a Clone Wars series or arc, and then they went and
Yeah.
made it into a novel. And I thought that was really well done. You had and then Master and Apprentice was good. Count Dooku Jedi Lost was pretty good as well. So there's been some good hits, but there's been a lot more kind of fluff, I think, in the Disney era of books as well.
Yeah, there is one of the things they did that I don't like with the movies, each sequel trilogy movie, they did this. Sorry, I got a cat jumped up here.
You're right.
They they Disney did a big dump of books to prepare fans for each movie, and to introduce characters, or I don't know, give backstories to B and C characters. And it just seemed like everything was fluff. Like there was
Mm-hmm.
nothing. I mean, maybe I'm painting with a big
No,
brush, but
no.
there was very little of consequence. It was just marketing fluff.
It was almost like a book that was a marketing material for the upcoming movie. I would agree with you on that. That's something we've said on Rule of the Galaxy a number of times, that the books leading into The Last Jedi, the books leading into Force Awakens, all you felt like, okay, we're going to get a lot out of this, but there was no consequence. There was no, it really just was more, hey, we're going to give you get your feet wet, right? Like get your toes in the water related to this era. And so that was a little bit bummer. And it made me think of another book, Bloodline, which was all about Leia and her finding more stuff out about Bail Organa and Darth Vader, or Anakin Skywalker. That was another good one during the Disney era. But what I know you've been selling quite a bit of your toys or action figures or different things. Have you seen anything new that's being released or that catches your eye? Because I feel like with the momentum of Maul, with the momentum of Mando and Starfighter around the corner, I feel like they're starting to up their game on the Lego and some of the action figures again. It was on a lull for a long time, but I really feel like there's, just like with the Gina momentum, I think there's momentum going on in there as well. Are you seeing anything that's making you want to jump back in and collect any of that stuff?
I would like to, but the biggest problem is the price. The prices have skyrocketed, and I just don't have any money to begin with anymore. So yeah, it's because vintage collection figures are $20 now.
Right.
Black Series is nearly $30. The retro collection would be affordable, but all we get is one box of 6 figures once a year, which is insane. I don't understand what they're doing. Maybe they're just holding back for next year for the 50th anniversary, because I'm sure they're going to release all of the retro figures, especially now that they've gotten rid of the stupid faux finish around the edges, and they've shrunk the sticker, the obnoxious red sticker, and made it so you can peel it off. And they've made the card backs harder and redesigned the card back so you've got the pictures of the figures on the back, because it used to be stupid legalese and foreign language marketing and all completely wasted opportunity. So I have a lot of criticisms, but so I think they're going to re-release everything, all those figures all over again, and hopefully they'll add a few new ones. But they always do. They'll make you buy all the old stuff all over again just to get one or two new figures. So, but anyway, so it's very unaffordable. That's my biggest problem. Even for May the 4th here, usually I buy something on the sales, but even the things that I really wanted were too expensive. I would have loved the Stormtrooper helmet, but It was
Hmm.
like the Black Series, but like $90, I think. And I would have loved. I've never owned an X-wing toy. I would have loved the vintage collection X-wing. It was supposed to be $70, which I still can't afford. When I looked, it was $90.
Oh,
So that's too much. I would have loved the vintage collection Tatooine Street playset. And that's $40, which maybe that's more reasonable in the economy now, but it's still more than I can afford. So it's all just too much money. I've had to basically stop collecting Black Series. I used to like be a completist. Now I really can't collect them at all unless I find them at Ross for anywhere
yes.
from $5 to $8 a figure. Um, I'm buying a lot at Ross actually. The vintage collection figures,
Yeah.
basically new ones are $5, maybe $6, but a lot of them are five. And they the strange thing is they're five, while Walmart's 20. But Ross has usually has a better selection than Walmart does, even though it's 75% off. There's more to choose from, and that's crazy. Uh, but so I don't know. I'm having to prioritize vintage collection because that's where my heart ultimately is. And I did, I bought recent waves, but I'm not caught up because I can't afford. I'm not going to pay
No.
20 for a regular and 25 to $30 for a deluxe figure. I'm only going to buy it when it's on sale or when it's on clearance. And that doesn't happen a lot unless it ends up at Ross. So I don't know how they're going to continue. What I do think is exciting here, got one right here. I haven't opened it yet. Um, are these Blokies action figures? Have you seen these?
I've just seen them online. I've not seen them anywhere live in the wild.
Yeah. They are at the best place to get them is Walmart. They've only got four Star Wars ones at Walmart. They've
Okay.
got Luke Stormtrooper, Han Stormtrooper, Darth Vader, and a regular Stormtrooper. Um, and they've got a few Marvel too. And at Walmart, they're only $15. If you buy them anywhere else, they're anywhere from 20, 25, $30. But Walmart, they're just 15, and they're 6-inch figures. They call them models. So they're I don't know what you call that when you buy the toys and they're in the little plastic squares and you got to punch out all the pieces and
Okay.
assemble it yourself. So that's how these are. But they make 6 figures, and from what I've heard and seen, I still haven't put mine together. The quality is comparable to a Black Series figure in many ways. I've heard the articulation might even be better than a Black Series figure. And when you're paying $30 for a Black Series, or you can get a Loki's for 15, that's a
Yeah.
huge difference. And from what I've seen with all of these, each figure seems to have a lot of alternate accessories. Like they have like 3 or 4 pairs of different hands. Some of them, not these, but I've seen others. They'll have alternate heads. And this Han Solo, he's got an extra weapon. The Luke, he's got a mouse droid, which you also have to put together. But the face sculpting and printing looks really good. It's a little more cartoonish than and stylized than Black Series. That's just their style, but it looks really
Yeah.
good.
I'll have to
And
go
I've
check
seen
them out.
them. Yeah, I've seen them. People display them mixed in with Black Series, and they blend in really well.
Nice.
So they seem like a really good value, and I think that might be that's going to be some big competition for Hasbro in the future if they continue to get shelf space at Walmart, because $15, that's hard to beat, and you get the fun of
Um,
putting it together.
yeah, no, I agree. I like you. I've really limited my purchasing to a select few. There's 2 or 3 characters that if I really like the figure, I'll get it, right? Even if I can't find it on a good sale. Just that's it. Like 2 or 3 characters. And then I go look, I dumpster dive, right? I myself, Alfie, others in the group here, if we see something at Ollie's, if we see something at Ross, if whatever, we jump on it when it's at cheap price. And I don't know. I hope it doesn't get to where we can't afford to get, I've got grandkids now. I hope it doesn't get to the point where it's like, man, I just spent $25 on the action figure they wanted, right? I mean, I want to be able to buy them a bunch and have them play, right?
Yeah,
And have fun
yeah.
with it. That's one thing that I have found at like excuse me, flea markets or garage sales. If I'll find somebody who's getting rid of a bunch of even Power of the Force figures, I'll buy them up as much as I can. Pardon
Hmm.
me. Because I want my grandkids to be able to play with them. And it
Yeah,
almost feels wrong to buy a $25 action figure that your grandkids are going to beat up probably. So,
right.
um,
Yeah,
yeah,
it
that's my opinion.
it almost.
I've gotten weirdly hooked on these little things too. Things like this.
Uh-huh.
This is an R2D2 car. Like R2
Okay.
is one of my select few that I really like. If I find something
Hmm.
odd and different related to him, I get it. But some of the Hot Wheels things have been kind of
Right.
fun recently. So,
Yeah. I
um,
was
go
uh
ahead.
I was getting into the Micro Galaxy Squadron, because those
Mm-hmm.
ships with the tiny little micro figures, those are a much better deal than Hasbro as well, because where a Black Series is $30 figure, you can buy a Micro Galaxy Squadron like an X-wing and for 15, anywhere from like 12, it might be
Yeah.
12 or $15. You get the ship, and it's completely articulated, and all the compartments open up and hatches. Plus you get a couple of little micro figures, and in each wave they seem to get more and more detailed too. The little figures they can move their arms and legs, and they're painted, and they're
Yeah.
really a great value for like $12 to $15. That's half the price of a figure, of a
I
Hasbro
agree.
figure.
No, I agree with you. I think some of those are fun. If you go find some of those at a Walmart, a Target, some other place that they've got them, if they're on sale. My wife will always use her like red card points. Hey, I built up $10 of free at Target, and I'm like, well, that used to be 20. Now I can get it for 10, right? And things like that. So that's really cool. Before we kind of start finishing up here because I got to break away and go back to the grindstone. And you've got goats and pugs to take care of, which actually sounds a lot
ten
more fun
dollars at
than.
Amazon, by the way.
Yes, that is fantastic. That's a good bargain, and it looks great.
Yeah.
Um, so one thing, I have some of your books here. I purchased some books through you. I've got some things you've done in the past, and you were great enough to sign them, put a message in them, and everything like that. Tell people whether it's through an email they can go through or DM you on Twitter or Instagram or wherever where they can go, and maybe some of the books that you have available that you were involved with Star Wars or Marvel or whichever one you want, to where people can get a great quality item at a good price by the author, and you can make actually some money from it.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, and I'll add, to buy them from me is the only way I get any benefit out of it. Is the only way I get any money, because Lucasfilm and the various publishers, they don't usually give royalties. It's a one-off deal, so this is the only way authors like me continue to get anything. So it's how I buy my coffee and how I buy my Star Wars toys. Uh, so the best way, you can either email me. It's all one word. It's Adam Bray at worldsbydesign.com, and worlds is plural with an S. Or you can DM me on Twitter. That's probably the best way. I'm also on Facebook. It's a little iffy though if you're not friends whether I see the message. It might take me 6 9 months or a year to see the message on Facebook if we're not friends. But so DM me, or you can comment. I'll see most comments on Twitter or X, or email me. If you go to my X account, there's a link to a tiny little website with the email address in case you forget. But my books, the most popular one is the Star Wars Encyclopedia. That's got the Mandalorian and Grogu characters from the show, the series, and it's got a lot of the characters from Maul. Well, it's got some of them, Maul and the two Inquisitors, and I think the Pike are in the encyclopedia because they appeared in other shows. So the Star Wars Encyclopedia, I've got the visual encyclopedia also by DK, which is a more visual encyclopedia. I've got, and then if you find something I've done on Amazon or other places, usually I can also fulfill orders for that. um so I've got the Rebels visual guides.
Hmm.
The one that's getting really hard to get is Star Wars Absolutely Everything You Need to Know. Unfortunately, that's out of that. I don't know why DK lets those go out of print. There's a Marvel version too. Those books are evergreen, which is why they're so hard to get. um
Gotcha.
but I've got a Starfighters book with a little like pop out puzzle model you can make, and some smaller books. But and I've got Marvel books, the Marvel Studios Visual Dictionary, the Marvel Studios Character Encyclopedia, the Marvel Encyclopedia. But order those from me. If I've got swag, I'll include it. Usually I've got little prints and stickers, maybe a patch or a button or something. um so those are great. I am working on a new book. This I'm excited about. This is not Star Wars, but if you're a Star
Okay.
Wars fan, you'll probably be interested. I'm hoping to finish this book this summer. That's the goal. It will be sold directly from me. It will probably also be on Amazon. I don't know if it'll be on other platforms. That you can buy, wherever it ends up. I'll get some benefit from it, but you'll only get a signed copy from me. But this book is about UFOs.
Nice.
And yeah, the I can't say too much about it, but it's a very exciting book. It is based on my own personal research.
Nice.
So it is mo- most of the information in this book is exclusive. Most of it you will not find from any other source, because I have been doing field research. I have been doing the observation and the studies personally myself. And I believe I have solved the mystery of UFOs and what they are.
There we go.
And to, I'm going to reveal it in this book. So
Oh,
stay tuned. Just follow me on X, Twitter, and I'll have announcements coming soon.
Well, man, I'm pumped, and hopefully, when it's ready to go, I will get I will reach out to you to get my signed copy. I think because he has such a much bigger audience with things talking about UFOs, you need to get on Geek Out Loud with Steve Glosson. While I might have a
Sure.
few people to me, he has thousands of people listening, and they want to hear that kind of news. So I don't mean to cut us short. You have been fantastic. You know what? I'm going to make sure I try to reach out to you every month or two, and you and I get on here and talk and go over things. Just work, life, Star Wars, family, everything's gotten in the way. So I apologize, but always love having you on and hearing from you. So thanks, man. Any closing thoughts before I go?
Um, I don't know. I think we kind of covered everything pretty well.
Well, next time for sure, we will talk Mandalorian and Grogu, and we will talk Maul, because hopefully by then you'll be caught up and you'll be able to tell me what you think about both of those. So, Adam Bray, it is always great to have you on here. For everybody who's listening, I'll make sure I tag Adam when I release this so he can lead you in all the directions to email him and DM him about his books and things like that. But Adam, you've been great. Thanks to everybody for listening. Happy May the 4th. Go check out the Mando thing if you can. We'll talk about Maul real soon. And until next time, may the Force be with you.